freedom's the answer. What's the question? You're listening to Ernest Hancock.
Yeah, what we fight for here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock from beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, where it's nice and a toasty. It's cold all over the place, everywhere else across country, but here in the Southwest, it's very nice. Here in Freedom's Phoenix studio, it's Freedom's with an S, freedomsphoenix.com. Now we have my special guest on, Addison Wiggin. He has a story. He has a story to tell you. And you know, the thing is that I want to know is, Addison, I want to know let me just ask a bunch of questions, and we'll get this, and let you do your get to it. But when did they actually start looking for, and then when did they actually find the wreck?
They started in 2004, and they found it in 2006.
Now,
I just sent you the link, too. I sent you the link to the 5-minute forecast that has the write-up of the swap proposal that we got from WikiLeaks.
We'll put that up on today's archive. You go to today's archive, is going to be right there. We've got the link. Thank you very much, Addison. Now, they knew what ship they were looking for? How is it that they came across some?
What they do, because salvage at the bottom of the ocean is such a tricky game. I mean, it's the bottom of the ocean. It's deep water. They don't really know what they're going to find down there. They take the historical records of different ship passages and accounts of the ship sinking, and they go out to a region that looks like it might be target-rich. So there might be different accounts of ships going down in a certain region, and then they start building a grid of the bottom of the ocean with the technology that they developed. They can look at what's lying on the ocean floor, and they can also look several feet below the ocean floor. They build a grid, and then they start analyzing what's down there. So they're not exactly sure exactly which ship they found. The Spanish government, who's never even seen any of this stuff except what's submitted to the court, is confident that they know what ship it is and they know what's lying around it. The Odyssey, as a shipwreck salvage company, is not even sure what they found. They do know they found all these coins, and they're still trying to figure out exactly what it is that they have. And that's part of the reason they brought it into federal court, because before they do all that work, they want to get official or a legal claim to the shipwreck so that they can justify the expense of bringing the goods in. And their model has worked up until the sum reached $500 million.
It worked and then didn't work because it hit 500 million. What?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they have a successful model. There was another ship that they found off the coast of Georgia in the U.S. that was known as the USS Republic, and they were successful at salvaging it and then using what they brought up, coins and bottles. They sold those in a commercial transaction to collectors, and they paid for the entire effort to go out, find the shipwreck, and salvage what was there. And they were also able to document exactly what the ship was doing, who was on it, where the manifest, what the manifest indicated they were doing, and all of the historical import of the ship's journey. So they have kind of hand in hand. They have dual missions of salvaging the treasure that's there, but at the same time learning as much as they can about the shipwreck and making that part of the historical record.
But I mean,
they
the main
did that same effort with this other shipwreck off the coast of Gibraltar, and they used the same method, but because they're dealing with the Kingdom of Spain, and because the value of the treasure that they brought up is so much greater, they've run into political headwinds that they had never experienced before.
They go, look at all this money you got for us.
Exactly.
And who do you need to say that, this is how it works. Who do you need to say that that's your money? You need me? Well, guess how much that money that costs for me to say that? I mean, this is it's exactly like that. It's exactly like that.
The U.S. government said they wouldn't even hear the case.
No.
in the tradition of admiralty law, they always hear the case. So this is the first time ever.
Because they can. Okay, so here we go. Now we have they knew what they were looking for. At least where they wanted to go, and they find it. Then they're going, okay, we'll go through all the hoops and so on, and make it. At least we get a part of it. Recover some money we wouldn't got it, and they go through the process. We went through this the Atocha thing. I mean, that was the same kind of stuff they went through. So
that's Mel Fisher,
right? So now, and I know that story. I smell the same people. You know what I mean? So here we go, and we have the man is wanting to get their cut. At what point did you guys start getting involved that you had an interest in doing?
We're actually not involved. I mean, we made a documentary film a couple years ago called IOUSA, which we actually followed an entirely different story. We followed David Walker, who was the former Comptroller General of the country, around on what he called the fiscal wake-up tour, and he was trying to educate like business groups and state politicians about the disaster that was befalling the federal government as baby boomers start to retire and all the entitlement programs go bankrupt. But that's where we heard the refrain, hey, once the economy gets back on track, we're going to be able to address the deficit, the federal debt, and a lot of the imbalances in the entitlement programs. But everybody agreed once the economy gets back on track, we'd be able to do that. Unfortunately, there's no one left to get the economy back on track if the environment that people start businesses and begin to hire people is completely uncertain, and we have things going on like what's happening to Odyssey Marine.
Okay, so you said to make an example of why it's not going to get back on track.
Yeah, we're using them as a case study, and granted, some of the features of Odyssey's story are unique. And they're kind of, it's like a reductio ad absurdum to look at them and say, this is not going to happen to everybody that wants to start a business because they're not going to be faced with the same challenges. But I guarantee everybody that watches this movie is going to look at it and be able to draw parallels to their own experience. If they're trying to run a business, they run into the same kind of bureaucratic nonsense that Odyssey's been running into, but they're doing it on a grand and global.
Too many shiny badges, overlapping shiny badges, and overlapping shiny badges from different countries. And how do you get overlapping shiny badges is when you have a table for them to slap their shiny badge on, which was created by the United Nations. The United Nations claiming everything on the ocean floor. I'm just like, wow. And when we go to space, they're going to want to do the same thing there too. So I'm just going, I live on Mars, man. I don't know what you're talking about. So we got to get away, man. We got to get away or get rid of the government. And, that's a whole nother issue we might get into. But so now you're following them as part of this process. You're going, let's go ahead and look and see just the kind of trials and tribulations you got to go through just to conduct business. And you went and found something that nobody else even knew was there,
Right.
So you get this.
Well, it was kind of handed to us in a way. We were like, whoa. That's incredible. So now you start following this. You're going through. What is it that you're documenting? Because they had already found it by the time you got this. Are you documenting any of the recovery, or are you just really going through the political and legal morass that's been created? Well, we're looking at the economics of it, too, because it's really entrepreneurs that create jobs in the country. So we're looking at the economics of starting a new venture in this economy post-bailout crisis. What kind of challenges are people facing as they're trying to start new businesses? Politicians claim that they can, what do they always say? They can create jobs. Jobs are number one. That's all we heard during this midterm election. Jobs, jobs, jobs. But government doesn't create jobs. Government can only move piles of money from one sector of the economy to the other, or from one part of society to another. They don't create anything, but they can, if they're aware of what's going on, they can make it possible for entrepreneurs to get started and to create jobs for other people.
Yeah, by just getting out of the way. Just get out of the way. And move around piles of money into Goldman Sachs' pocket. Now we'll talk about more when we come back here with Addison Wiggin in just a little bit. We'll be right back.